To say I am a tad obsessed with the first-in-the-nation status of Iowa in presidential primary seasons is an understatement. And Elizabeth Warren's five-stop weekend there just brought it into greater focus. So take a deep breath, Jim. At the start of every election cycle, I like to lay out why the Hawkeye State's leader of the pack position is completely undeserved and bad for democracy. Over the last 40-plus years, we've become accustomed to the idea that Iowa typically sets the tone for the rest of the election cycle. But the system is horribly broken because Iowa is one of the least representative states in the entire country. And we've let its caucuses carry on with too much influence for far too long. Let me explain. For one thing, Des Moines, the capital and largest city in Iowa, has less than a third of the population of Boston, with a little over 217,000 people. And speaking of demographics, the state is also one of the least diverse in the entire country, with over 91% of its citizens identifying as white, according to the census. Nationally, the percentage of Hispanics or Latinos is 3 times that of Iowa. And when it comes to the percentage of African Americans, it's almost 4 times higher. Plus, it doesn't help that the caucus rules are wildly different for each party. The GOP conducts a secret ballot vote that gets tallied statewide, while the Democrats conduct a multi-step process in which those who don't receive 15% of the initial vote are eliminated, party members are asked to realign their preferences, and the delegates then are finally chosen with a verbal vote, not even a secret ballot. Still with me? Not to mention those meetings and the votes can take hours, meaning only the most dedicated of the extreme left and right make it a point to show up and stay. Plus, turnout is awful. In 2012, 4 out of 5 people who were eligible to participate in the Republican caucus didn't even bother. And remember, in a vote which often goes a long way to deciding who the nominees eventually are. Like in 2008, on the day of the Iowa caucus, Illinois Senator Barack Obama trailed Hillary Clinton by more than 20 points in national polls. Just 4 days later, and a caucus win later, that deficit was down to 7 points. And a month and a half on, Obama surpassed her. Before that, in the 2004 race, Senator John Kerry went from relative national obscurity to beat out early Democratic favorite Howard Dean, whose campaign almost immediately crumbled. So, to sum up, sketchy participation, arcane processes, and unlike most of America, no real cities and no diversity. Isn't there a better way? Last week, Tonight host John Oliver had this ingenious proposal back in 2016.
I propose February 2nd. Now, that will be easy to remember because it's Groundhog Day, which does seem appropriate, because unless this primary process is fixed, we are all destined to live through the same nightmare scenario over and over again until the end of f***ing time.
Count me in, John. And if you're wondering what my thoughts are on the New Hampshire primary, stay tuned.